The Black community has long suffered under the weight of systemic racism and discrimination. As white people, it is our responsibility to use our privilege to support and uplift the Black community. Here are a few ways that we can be better allies. Listen and learn. We need to listen to Black voices and experiences without interrupting or dismissing them. We should educate ourselves on the history of systemic racism and the ways that it continues to impact the Black community today. We should seek out resources, books, and documentaries that help us understand the issues. Next, speak up. We should use our privilege to speak up against racism and discrimination. We should challenge racist comments and behaviors, even if it's uncomfortable. Silence that which perpetuates racism. We should support Black-owned businesses in our communities. We should advocate for policies that support economic justice and equity. Donate to Black-led organizations. Financially support Black-led organizations that are working to address systemic racism and inequality. It can be done through regular contributions or contributing to certain campaigns and initiatives. We should also use our platforms for good as white people. We have access to platforms and audiences that the Black community may not have. We should use our platforms to amplify Black voices and perspectives, raise awareness about issues affecting the Black community, and promote positive change. Be open to feedback and learning from our mistakes, as we will make mistakes along the way. But it's important to acknowledge them, apologize, and learn from them. We should be open to feedback and willing to change our behavior and perspectives as we continue to learn and grow. Being a better ally to the Black community requires a willingness to listen, learn, and take action. It requires us to use our privilege for good, support Black-owned businesses and communities, and speak up against racism and discrimination. It's up to all of us to work towards a more just and equitable society, and being a better ally is an important step. If you like the content and benefit, when white people in the United States balk at the idea of paying reparations to Black Americans who descended from slaves, they disagree with the Bible. To begin with, let's first define what reparations mean. Reparations are a form of compensation or restitution made to those who have suffered injustice, specifically in cases of racial inequality, discrimination, and slavery. The idea of paying reparations to Black Americans is not a new one. It has been a topic of discussion for decades, if not centuries. However, it has gained renewed attention and support in recent years. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also advocated for reparations in the form of economic advancement for Black Americans. As a Christian, I believe that reparations are not only a matter of justice and equality, but also a reflection of God's character. In the Bible, we see numerous examples of God's concern for the oppressed, the marginalized, and the downtrodden. From the Israelites' liberation from slavery in Egypt to Jesus' ministry among the poor and the outcast, we see a consistent theme of God's love for those who are on the margins of society. One of the key biblical principles that underlie the idea of reparations is the concept of restitution. In the book of Leviticus, we see God commanding the Israelites to make restitution to those whom they have wronged. Leviticus chapter 6 says that if anyone sins and commits a breach of faith against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in a matter of deposit or security or through robbery, or if he has oppressed his neighbor or found something lost and lied about it, swearing falsely, he shall restore it in full and shall add a fifth to it and give it to him to whom it belongs. This passage emphasizes the importance of making restitution to those who have been wronged, and not just restoring what has been taken, but adding to it as a form of compensation. This principle of restitution can be applied to the issue of reparations to Black Americans who have suffered centuries of enslavement, discrimination, and systemic oppression. Another biblical principle that supports the idea of reparations is the concept of jubilee. In Leviticus chapter 25, God commands to the Israelites to observe a jubilee. This was a radical idea of economic justice designed to prevent the accumulation of wealth and power in the hands of a few and to ensure that all members of society had equal access to resources and opportunities. The idea of Jubilee can be seen as a model for reparations in that it seeks to address the root causes of inequality and oppression rather than just treating the symptoms. By forgiving debts, freeing slaves, and returning property, Jubilee seeks to create a more just and equitable society, one in which everyone has the opportunity to flourish. As a Christian, I believe that paying reparations to Black Americans is not only a matter of justice and equity, but also a reflection of God's character and values. Through the biblical principles of restitution and jubilee, we see a model for how we can address the historical and systemic injustices that have plagued our society for far too long. While the issue of reparations is complex and contentious, I believe that as Christians, we have a responsibility to...
You see, I'm one person who believes in the end times because I know it's very true. I'm one person who believes in restitution. I'm one person who believes that everyone and in everything that we do, there's always a choice that we make, and in every choice there's a consequences that follows. They are attached like key and lock. You can't take an action without a consequence. An action can either have a good consequence or a bad consequence, right? Yeah. So once you have understood that, you need to realize one thing, that we had the slave trade. Everyone knows that by now. We had the slave trade. It's ironical that some Black people acknowledge that we never had the slave trade, but it existed. The legacies of the slave trade is what we see with the Black Americans today. The suffering, the oppression, the police brutality, right? The inequality in education, the inequality in health sector, the inequality in the political arena, right? All this is because of slave trade, right?
White people, I'm going to give y'all some advice since y'all going to be crying even more now that the protest, after this protest and don't shit change and, everything just continue to just, go further and further down the toilet. Something you can do that might help your situation is apologize to Black people. Because if y'all apologize to Black people, right, and it works, then y'all gain allies and, more importantly, actual powerful, smart, allies. Like, useful, because y'all definitely need some usefulness, over there. But yeah, wallow in your sorrow for however long after this protest stuff. Y'all just realize y'all don't wasted y'all time. And then y'all need to be getting together to have a big party to apologize to Black people. Because that's the only way y'all getting out of this. That's the only, because this world going down. This going down. Black people not going down. Y'all will be literally extinct, is what I'm saying. So what y'all really need to be doing is apologizing to Black people so that we can come together, really save y'all asses, honestly, because we could just let y'all asses burn and then make a new world with just Black people, but we're not going to do that because we're loving people. So that's not what we do. So the good white people and Black people, we're going to make a new America. It's going to be new. It's going to be equitable. But the only way we're going to be able to do that is y'all white people got to get to apologizing to Black people so that we can have some, thoughts of wanting to get involved. But we're going to have to stop being mad at y'all first. Long as we mad at y'all, like y'all don't know what to do when somebody mad at y'all. Somebody mad at you, you need to apologize. Y'all know Black people mad. So why I got to tell y'all to apologize? So, look, That's what y'all need to be doing. That's what's going to save y'all asses. If not, you ain't going to give us no choice but to create a new America without y'all asses. And then guess what? That ain't on us. That karma ain't on us. But we are free so long as y'all asses ain't apologizing. I'm telling you. We ain't gonna be getting no bad karma because a motherfucker burnt that didn't apologize. So that's why I'm telling y'all need to fucking apologize to black people if y'all want to be saved. We are the only people that can save y'all.
So we had people who were selling and we had people who were buying. I want to look at the buyer now. The buyer, because you can't buy what you don't want. You buy what you want and you use it accordingly, right? So the commodity was blacks. They were shipped from Cape Coast in Ghana, taken all the way to where? To Virginia. In Virginia, they were sold to white farmers again. These white farmers would place them into plantations and they would work for them thoroughly. For 400 years, black people were enslaved, right? 400 years. That's a very long time, right? You are born, you die, you are born, you die in slavery. Until we came to have the French Revolution. After that, we came to have the American Civil War, which now saw the complete eradication of slavery, right? But still up to date, we have some people who still think that they are in that slave trade. They think that that status that they had when their forefathers, not them particularly, but their forefathers had while enslaving blacks, is the same status they hold today. That's not the case. Times are different, things are different. Right now is the time that people call for restitution. People call for restoration. People call for apology. People call for reparations. And people call for forgiveness. And I am glad that some of these white people with whom they have acknowledged that their forefathers, some of them may have enslaved black people, right? And they have also acknowledged the modern form of slavery, the oppression, the police brutality, the inequality. They have all acknowledged that, and they're begging. They're literally begging black people for forgiveness. I like that because that is a path, a clean path towards a justifiable community, towards a peaceful community. There is a video, or rather there is a series of videos that is trending right now. I want us to watch this video, get to understand the part of forgiveness. Are they really acknowledging, are they stating this, that, and that? Are they being specific for their point of apology? Or what are they asking apology for, right? So let's dive in, listen to them. I shall get back by the end of the vid, of course, where we shall also have a deep critical analysis. Let's dive in.
The reason why, especially white people in more rural areas and just in general cling to racism as like a fallback for their behaviors is because it is enforced through fear. Okay? When you are deconstructing, especially as someone who has only ever been around mostly white people, you start to learn very quickly just how bad the people around you are. And as you start to deconstruct it, and as you start to kind of get to the root cause of racism, you face the risk of being disowned and thrown out of your community that you do have. It is a fear tactic. It is the same thing that the Mormon church does to its missionaries. It's kind of like, oh, the outside world is scary. Go be this repulsive thing in the world, and you get like an appropriate reaction for saying heinous things and being this person, and it only reinforces that idea of racism inside of these people. And it's all due to the older generations. And while I know that's not an excuse for younger people to be racist, it is the power structure. Because they control people's purses. If you're a kid going to college and you're from a rural area, you might be the first person in your family to go to college. Or even well-off white people who grew up in suburbs and, you know, vacationed around the world throughout the year. If they send their kids to college, their kids don't have to work a job. They just focus on college. But as they start to deconstruct that racism and as they start to become more socially progressive, they are treated horribly. because the people around them don't want to have to face the reality that they're bad people. So instead, they'd rather disown their kid. They'd rather slander their name in the churches. The gossiping in churches is another major reason for the continuation of racism, because it reinforces that fear, it reinforces that stereotype. Oh, you're going against what these other people have done before you because it's wrong. But you're the person pointing out it's wrong, so it's your fault. And it's kind of this whole thing of, you either conform to the elders and the people around you, or you risk losing everything. And a lot of white people don't have a good support group because, you know, look at our culture for the last fucking 80, 90 years of pushing into isolationism, pushing into, you know, oh, if I stand against this, I risk losing everything. I might lose my family. I might lose my friends. And while to the world, it's like, you should lose those people because they're bad people. When you don't have a support system on the other side, it makes life significantly harder just because you want to do the right thing. It's also an easy grift. It's an easy cop-out. Look at the woman who just raised over $700,000 because she called a black autistic kid the N-word. There is so much grift and money in racism, and the money itself is the problem, because now you're fighting not only the people around you, you're now also fighting the culture war against the money in racism, against people like Fox News, right-wing grifters. You risk having your face splattered on a website somewhere, and now you've got death threats from people because you just want people to be treated equally. You are threatening, by deconstructing racism as a white person, you threaten the entire system. Because if you as your own person deconstruct and go through that, you alone have the power of your own words. You alone now have the power of your own actions, because you're holding yourself accountable. You're not falling back on the stereotypes. You're not falling back onto the misleading statistics that a bunch of right-wing grifters put out. It's a very complicated road. And while it shouldn't be complicated, old money has made it complicated on purpose.
Hello, folks. How you feel? Good this morning? Hope you do. I'm trying to get on my feet again. Feel pretty good. Thankful it's as well as it is. Oh, boys, I'm pleased to see you. I don't know where you come from, but I give you all the welcome I've got to offer you. And I want to tell you that I'm living on the same ground that I've lived on for 75 long years when I come here as an 18-year-old bride. I went to Washington 50 years and a little more ago. I saw all the people around there and been with the presidents. And I learned a great many things up there that I didn't know before. I'll add a little more to it. I was one of the board of lady managers for the Chicago Exposition. And I served my full time in Chicago and learned a good many things over there. I was a delegate to the Tennessee Centennial Exposition. I was a delegate to St. Louis, a juror at St. Louis. I think for a North Georgia cracker of my size and age, I've had a pretty good education on that line. That do all right? I was a 3-year-old girl when the Indians were moved from this country to Indian Territory. I have an indistinct recollection of seeing the red men as they went through the woods, for everything was woods nearly at that time. I have a distinct impression, if a 3-year-old child can have it. Nevertheless, I've been here since that time, and I've seen the march of progress all the way. At that time, we had only stagecoaches, and we only had horses and buggies, and we had lots of footback travelers.
I haven't been on here in a long time, man, but this is for all the Negro people, God's chosen people, the first love of the Most High. I love good gospel music. I've been sitting there watching CeCe Winans, and the woman just blesses my soul. And the Lord put it on my heart to make this. First of all, I want to take the time to apologize to y'all, man, for what the white man has done to you people. It's so egregious and atrocious, and I have no words to make up or give you a proper apology for what's been done to you. I really don't. But I am truly, sincerely sorry for what has been done to you people, and it grieves me terribly. It really does. Man, you all are chosen. You God's chosen people, man. You shouldn't be able to contain your joy. With everything that's going on, the Spirit of God moving like it is, I'm telling you, I've been staying off here a lot because of AI. But I had to make this video. I really did. I was fortunate enough the Lord revealed himself to me 31 years ago, man, and I know him, and I love him. He's first in my life, man. He truly is. Just knowing y'all as chosen people is an immense blessing to me because he revealed it to me. I don't know why my phone keeps doing this. I'm sorry. Anyway, I just want to take this time again to apologize to y'all and to lift you up, man. Like I say, you should be able to contain your joy, man. You're God's chosen people. You really are. May the blessings of God follow each and every one of you. Every single one of you. I just pray blessings in your life, man. And white man's reign's over. It's over. It's your all's time, man. Embrace that. Seek God with all your heart, man. Seek him. Because y'all are his people, man. Y'all are his people. God bless each and every one of you. And my prayer is if you don't know him, that you seek him and find him. Because children, time is short, man. It's truly short. Peace and love to everybody. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Tune in to Celestial over there too on the Master's Voice. I do that also. God bless y'all, man.
So, after carefully listening to this video, here's my deep critical analysis. The history of the USA cannot be fully told without acknowledging the centuries of systemic oppression endured by Black Americans, from the transatlantic slave trade to the legalized brutality of the Jim Crow laws, and from redlining to mass incarceration. These injustices were not isolated incidents, but the result of deliberate policies and social norms maintained by a white-dominated power structure. An apology is not merely a symbolic gesture. It is moral and historically necessary, right? Slavery in America was built, or rather slavery in America is built much of the nation's wealth, right? Yet, the descendants of the enslaved were left with nothing but poverty, disenfranchisement, and trauma. Even after emancipation, Black Americans faced a century of legalized segregation, voter suppression, and violent intimidation. While systemic racism continues to shape life outcomes in housing, education, healthcare, and criminal justice today, these are not ancient words. They are living realities. An apology from white Americans who would acknowledge that the oppression was real, intentional, and devastating. It would confront the myth that racial inequality is the result of personal failings rather than structural injustice. While an apology alone cannot repair the damages that have been made, it is the first step towards accountability, reconciliation, and genuine progress. Without this acknowledgement, America risks continuing the cycle of denial that allows racism to adapt and persist. True healing begins when those who have benefited from injustice confront that history honestly. And an apology is not just about guilt. It's about responsibility, humanity, and the courage to make right decision to what has been made wrong for too long. Right? Yes, guys, you've seen that these white people have come up front and they have done the right thing by acknowledging that black people have sincerely and have really suffered in their hands, right? It can be directly or indirectly, but many cases it is always directly, right? So slavery in America, for instance, was not an ancient accident of history. It was a calculated economic and social system, right? Sustained by laws, religious justification, and brutal force. Enslaved Africans built much of the nation's early wealth, cultivating the cotton that powered the Industrial Revolution. They worked in mines, ports, and plantations, yet they were denied even the most basic human rights. Families were torn apart, culture was suppressed, and generations were subjected to violence designed to maintain white supremacy. Even after the emancipation, freedom came with the chains of another kind. The Reconstruction era briefly promised political and social participation of black Americans, but it was swiftly undone by the Jim Crow laws. These laws enforced segregation, blocked people, or rather black people, from voting through poll taxes and literacy tests, and permitted lynching as a form of racial terror. White society's institution, government, courts, businesses, and media either enabled or actively participated in this oppression, right? So critics often argue that those living today are not responsible for the crimes of their ancestors. Yet, this view ignores the reality that the benefits of the past injustices and the burdens they created are still unevenly distributed. The wealth gap, educational inequality, health disparities, and discriminatory policing are not historical abstractions. They are daily experiences for millions of black Americans. Responsibility in this context is not about personal guilt. It is about collective accountability for the systems and privileges that continue to shape our society today. An apology, as I stated upfront, would be a first step, but not the final line, right? Which means that these white people have done the right thing, apologizing to the black people. So apology would lay the groundwork for deeper conversations about reparations, policy reform, and healing. Without such an acknowledgement, America risks repeating its cycle of denial, allowing racism to adapt in new form. History has shown that acknowledged wounds fester. Only through honesty and responsibility can they begin to heal, right? White America's apology would not be a sign of weakness, or is not a sign of weakness from this. On the contrary, it would be a testament of the nation's maturity and moral courage, a recognition that facing uncomfortable truths is the only path towards genuine unity and justice. It would affirm that America's greatness lies not in denying its past, but in confronting it, making amends, and ensuring that such oppression never happens again, right? It is important that we understand all this, and I'm glad that you are able to listen to this and you are able to understand, you as a white person, that you apologizing is not a form of weaknesses, but rather it's a form of maturity and courage, right? Recognizing that people have been oppressed and they deserve an apology, right? Yeah. So do share your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be willing to listen from you. Share your thoughts. You can support the channel by subscribing on my Patreon. Subscribe to the channel, of course. Support me on Patreon. I'll surely appreciate. See you in the next one. Stay positive.